The night had a way of biting straight through the bones. A cruel reminder that some winters didn't just freeze the air, they froze lives. On a dimly lit train platform, where snow drifted like shattered pieces of forgotten hopes, a young homeless woman sat alone at the edge, trembling not from the cold, but from the weight of everything she had lost. Her red dress, once something she wore on better days, clung to her like a memory she couldn't escape. She knew people glanced at her, pitied her, judged her, avoided her. But tonight, she didn't even have the strength to care. She had reached the point where silence felt safer than the world that had abandoned her. And just when she thought the night couldn't possibly offer anything besides more loneliness, tiny footsteps crunched through the snow, stopping right in front of her. A small voice, soft but brave, broke through the darkness like a warm light. If you believe the world still needs kindness, compassion, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. The young woman lifted her eyes, expecting fear or distance. Instead, she found a little girl bundled in a pink jacket, her cheeks rosy from the cold and her smile bright enough to cut through the night. The girl stretched her arms wide toward her, offering warmth without hesitation. The woman's breath caught in her throat, overwhelmed by the innocence standing before her. She had spent so long invisible, forgotten, unheard, yet this child looked at her as if she mattered. The girl's father stood a few steps behind, watching silently, his expression unsure yet gentle. The snow continued falling around them, but strangely, it felt less cold. The woman felt something she hadn't felt in months, the sense that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely alone. She had ended up here after a series of mistakes that spiraled out of her control. She once had a job she loved, a small apartment, and a circle of friends she trusted. But life unraveled fast when she lost her mother, the only person who had ever believed in her fully. Grief made her stumble at work. Missed payments piled up, and soon the world she knew slipped from her fingers. She tried asking for help, but the people she counted on closed their doors. What hurt the most wasn't poverty, it was feeling like she had become a burden to everyone. So she wandered from place to place, wearing the same red dress she had worn the night she lost everything. It was the last piece of her old identity, and somehow she couldn't let go. Now she sat shivering at the train station, hoping the cold would numb the ache inside. Yet here was a child, fearless and full of warmth, offering her something she had forgotten how to accept. The woman felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness, but from the shock of being seen with kindness instead of disgust. The little girl stepped closer, her smile unwavering, and placed her tiny hands into the woman's trembling ones. In that simple gesture, something fragile began to mend. The father finally approached, kneeling beside his daughter. His voice was gentle as he spoke, assuring the woman they meant no harm. He explained that his daughter had a habit of feeling the emotions of others more deeply than most people her age. She had tugged at his sleeve the moment she saw the woman, insisting that the lady needed a hug more than anyone else in the world tonight. He apologized if it seemed intrusive, but the woman shook her head, unable to find her voice as emotion rose in her chest. For the first time in months, someone had spoken to her without pity or judgment, only understanding. The little girl leaned in and wrapped her arms around the woman's waist. It was a tiny embrace, soft and childlike, but it hit her harder than any storm ever could. The warmth sank into her frozen heart, melting layers of pain she had kept hidden for too long. She closed her eyes, letting the moment carry her. She didn't know how long she sat there holding onto that small spark of hope, but when she finally pulled away, her tears flowed freely and honestly. The girl wiped them away with her tiny hand, as if she had done it 1,000 times before the father stood and offered the woman his scarf, urging her to keep it. He asked if she wanted something warm to drink, maybe a meal, or simply company. Normally she would refuse out of pride or fear, but tonight felt different. Tonight felt like a turning point. So she nodded, allowing herself to accept kindness without explaining anything. The three of them walked slowly toward a nearby cafe, the girl skipping happily between them as if she had just made a new best friend. The woman had no idea what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time in ages, tomorrow didn't feel like an enemy. Inside the warm cafe, the scent of hot chocolate and freshly baked bread filled the air. The father ordered food for all of them, insisting she eat her fill. As she tasted the warmth of the soup, she felt strength returning to her limbs, but more importantly, to her spirit. The girl kept talking about little things, snowflakes, colors, stories she liked, none of it heavy, none of it complicated, just pure, childlike joy. It was the kind of distraction the woman didn't realize she desperately needed for a few precious minutes. She wasn't homeless, or forgotten, or broken. She was simply human, sharing food with people who treated her as if she mattered. After finishing the meal, the father gently asked if she had somewhere safe to stay. She hesitated, embarrassed, but he assured her there was no judgment. Though she didn't want charity, she admitted she didn't have a place for the night. Without hesitation, he made a call to a local women's shelter he often volunteered at. They agreed to take her in immediately. She felt overwhelmed again, not by hopelessness this time, but by the realization that kindness still existed, sometimes from the most unexpected people. As they walked her to the shelter, the little girl held her hand tightly, refusing to let go until they reached the door. Before parting, the girl whispered something that made the woman's heart tremble. She told her she was strong and beautiful, and that tomorrow would be better. For the first time, the woman allowed herself to believe it. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps these real human stories reach more souls who need hope. Before you go, please comment below, what part of the story moved you the most? And with that, the door to the shelter opened, warm light spilling out. The woman stepped in, carrying with her a scarf, a hug, and a spark of hope that would change everything. If you'd like, I can also create image prompts, thumbnails, SEO titles, tags, or narration-style scripts for this story.